At 80, your brain does something it hasn't done since you were a teenager, and scientists can't explain why it happens to some people, but not others. This discovery is rewriting textbooks and making researchers wonder if we've been measuring human potential all wrong. But here's the disturbing part. The world's fastest growing club doesn't require membership fees or secret handshakes. You just have to survive 8 decades. Welcome to being 80 plus, where the waiting list is shrinking fast and everyone's getting in. Right now, about 146 million people worldwide have blown out at least 80 candles on their birthday cake. That number isn't just growing, it's exploding. By 2050, demographers predict we'll triple that figure. 3 times as many octogenarians walking around, sharing stories, and probably complaining about how loud restaurants have gotten. Here's something wild to consider. Most of today's 80-year-olds were born when black and white television was cutting-edge technology. Color TV didn't become standard in American homes until the late 1960s. These folks watched the world literally gain color during their lifetimes. The history they've witnessed reads like an impossible fiction novel. Many lived through World War II as children, then watched the Cold War unfold as adults. They saw humans walk on the moon, witnessed the rise and fall of the Berlin Wall, and now they're video chatting with great-grandchildren on devices that fit in their pocket. But here's the kicker. In wealthy countries, hitting 80 isn't considered beating the odds anymore. It's becoming expected. Your average person born in a developed nation today has better than even chances of seeing their 80th birthday. That's a complete flip from just a century ago when reaching 80 meant you were practically a medical miracle. The 80-plus crowd represents something unprecedented in human history, a massive population of people who've accumulated nearly a century of experience, wisdom, and stories. They're not just surviving longer, they're redefining what it means to age. Speaking of survival, most people assume hitting 80 means the clock starts ticking faster. Turns out that assumption might be completely wrong. The numbers might shock you. Life expectancy for today's 80-year-olds isn't just creeping up, it's leaping forward. Most people who reach their 80th birthday can expect to see their 90s. Some will blow past that milestone entirely. Medical breakthroughs are the real game changer here. Heart surgery that seemed impossible decades ago, now it's routine. Hip replacements let people dance at their great-grandchildren's weddings. Cancer treatments have become so advanced that what used to be a death sentence often becomes just another doctor's appointment. Well, maybe not quite that simple, but you get the idea. Then there's the lifestyle revolution happening in retirement communities everywhere. 80-year-olds are running marathons. Seriously, there are age groups for this stuff. Others backpack through Europe or learn to scuba dive in tropical waters. The stereotype of frail seniors shuffling around, that's becoming outdated faster than flip phones. Diet plays a huge role too. Many octogenarians grew up eating whatever was available, but now they're embracing Mediterranean diets, cutting sugar, and drinking green smoothies. Makes sense, right? They've got the time to focus on nutrition without work stress getting in the way. But here's the wild part. In wealthy countries, reaching 80 isn't considered beating the odds anymore. It's expected. Insurance companies plan for it. Retirement funds stretch to cover it. Adult children assume their parents will be around for decades, not years. The contrast is striking when you compare today's 80-year-olds to previous generations. Their grandparents might have considered 65 elderly. These folks are planning their next adventure at 85. However, all this extra time brings unexpected changes to how the brain works after 8 decades of life experience. Here's the thing about 80-year-old brains that might shock you. They're not necessarily slower or foggier than younger ones. In fact, many octogenarians are solving crossword puzzles faster than their grandkids can finish TikTok videos. Research shows that while processing speed might dip a bit, wisdom and crystallized intelligence actually improve with age. Translation? Your brain becomes like a fine wine, better with time. Those 80 years of experience create neural pathways that younger brains simply don't have yet. Take Eleanor, who learned to play chess at 82 and now beats players half her age, or Frank, who started writing poetry at 85 and published his first book last year. These aren't rare exceptions, they're becoming the norm. The secret sauce? Mental engagement. 80-year-olds who stay curious, read books, learn new skills, or even argue politics at the coffee shop maintain sharper cognitive function than couch potatoes of any age. Makes sense, right? Use it or lose it applies to your brain muscle too. But here's where it gets really interesting. Many seniors develop what scientists call cognitive reserve. Basically, their brains become more efficient at problem solving because they've seen similar challenges before. While a 30-year-old might panic over a crisis, an 80-year-old thinks, been there, handled that. Social interaction plays a huge role too. Weekly bridge games, book clubs, or simply gossiping with neighbors keeps neural networks firing. Loneliness, on the other hand, can shrink brain tissue faster than age itself. The weird part is that some 80-year-olds outperform college students on vocabulary tests and general knowledge quizzes. Decades of reading newspapers, watching documentaries, and living through history creates an incredible mental library. Well, speaking of living through decades of experience, there's something else that might surprise you about reaching 80. It could actually make you happier than you've ever been. Remember when you thought you'd be grumpier at 80? Well, here's some surprising news. Research shows that many people actually become happier as they get older, not more miserable. By the time you hit 80, you might find yourself more content than you were at 50 or even 30. Scientists call this the happiness U-curve. Life satisfaction tends to dip during middle age, then climbs back up after 60. And guess what? It often peaks in your 80s. Makes sense when you think about it. All those decades of worrying about your career, mortgage payments, and what everyone thinks of you start to fade away. But why does this happen? Simple. Your priorities shift. The small stuff that used to drive you crazy doesn't matter anymore. Traffic jams become less infuriating when you're not rushing to impress a boss. Family arguments seem silly when you've survived real hardships. Then there's gratitude. Many 80-year-olds report feeling thankful for things they once took for granted. A sunny day, a good cup of coffee, or a phone call from a grandchild becomes genuinely exciting. When you've lived through decades of ups and downs, you learn to appreciate the quiet moments. Decision-making gets easier too. All that life experience pays off. You've probably made thousands of choices by now, good and bad, so you know what really works for you. No more agonizing over every little decision like you did when you were younger. Stress hormones also naturally decrease with age. Your body literally produces less of the chemicals that make you anxious and irritable. Plus, many daily stressors disappear. No more job deadlines, no more teenagers slamming doors. Of course, this doesn't mean every 80-year-old is walking around in constant bliss, but the research is clear. Happiness often increases with age. And speaking of what makes life better at 80, there's something even more important than inner peace. When you're 80, your social circle becomes everything. Research shows that having strong friendships actually adds years to your life, not months, years. The Harvard study of adult development tracked people for over 80 years and found that good relationships keep us happier and healthier than money, fame, or even exercise. Here's what happens to friendships at 80. Some of your oldest friends might be gone, which is tough, but the ones who remain, those bonds get incredibly deep. You've shared decades of stories, secrets, and life changes together. There's no pretending anymore. These friends know the real you. Many 80-year-olds discover they're joining clubs and groups for the first time in years. Book clubs become weekly highlights. Bridge games turn into social lifelines. Church groups, gardening societies, or volunteer organizations suddenly feel essential. Why? Because showing up somewhere regularly means people notice when you're missing. Then there's the family factor that changes everything at 80. Grandkids and great-grandkids create bonds that didn't exist before. You're not just a parent anymore. You're the family historian, the cookie baker, the one with endless patience for silly questions. These relationships work differently because there's less pressure and more pure joy. But here's the surprising part about friendship at 80. Quality beats quantity every single time. Having one person you can call when you're worried, scared, or excited matters more than having dozens of casual acquaintances. Studies prove that people with just one close confidant live longer than those with large but shallow social networks. The magic ingredient? Simply having someone to talk to regularly. It doesn't matter if it's your neighbor, your sister, or the person you met at physical therapy. Regular conversation keeps your brain sharp and your mood stable. Speaking of staying sharp, your brain might surprise you in other ways too. When you hit 80, your body decides to play some interesting tricks on you. Most people actually shrink about an inch from their peak height. Your spine compresses over the decades, and those little cushions between your vertebrae get thinner. Standing next to your old driver's license photo becomes a humorous reminder of when you could reach that top shelf without a step stool. Your skin transforms too, becoming thinner and more delicate than tissue paper. Bruises appear from the smallest bumps. Sometimes you'll discover a purple mark and have no memory of how it got there. It's like your skin keeps secrets from your brain. The good news? These bruises heal just fine. They just take their sweet time doing it. Then there's the hair situation. White or gray becomes universal, no exceptions. Even people who swore they'd never go gray find themselves joining the silver-haired club. Some embrace it with pride, others reach for hair dye. Both choices work perfectly fine. But here's what catches many people off guard. Your muscles need way more attention to stay strong. The use it or lose it rule becomes very real after 80. A week of sitting around can undo months of progress. Regular movement isn't just nice anymore, it's essential for maintaining independence. Joints also develop their own personality. After sitting for a while, getting up requires a moment of negotiation between you and your knees. That first step might feel creaky, but things usually loosen up once you get moving. Many discover that staying in motion throughout the day works better than long periods of rest. These physical changes might sound concerning, but most 80-year-olds adapt remarkably well. Your body finds new ways to work, and you learn to work with it. Speaking of adaptation, your sleep patterns are about to undergo their own fascinating transformation. When you hit 80, your internal clock decides to rewrite the rules. Gone are the days of staying up until midnight watching late-night talk shows. Your body starts treating 8 p.m. like the grand finale of the day. Most octogenarians find themselves yawning right after dinner. What used to feel like an early bedtime now seems perfectly reasonable. But here's the flip side. That 4 a.m. wake-up call happens whether you want it or not. Your body says good morning while the rest of the world is still deep in dreamland. The weird part is how natural this feels. Many 80-year-olds describe feeling more in sync with sunrise and sunset than they ever did in their younger years. Their energy peaks in the morning when their minds are sharpest, then gradually winds down as evening approaches. Then there's the afternoon nap phenomenon. What once seemed like a luxury becomes almost essential. That post-lunch drowsiness hits like clockwork, and fighting it feels pointless. Smart seniors embrace it. A 20-minute power nap can transform a sluggish afternoon into productive evening hours. Sleep quality often surprises people at this age. While total sleep time might drop from 8 hours to 6 or 7, many report deeper, more restful periods. The marathon sleeping sessions of youth get replaced by efficient, restorative rest. Let's not forget that insomnia isn't universal among seniors. Despite what many younger people assume, plenty of 80-year-olds sleep like babies. Those who do struggle with nighttime wakefulness often find success with consistent routines, cooler bedrooms, and avoiding afternoon caffeine. The body's changing relationship with sleep reflects decades of accumulated wisdom about what it truly needs. Early to bed, early to rise becomes less of a saying and more of a lifestyle. But this shift in sleep patterns connects to something even more powerful than rest: the way seniors engage with their communities and civic responsibilities. While most young adults skip elections or forget to register, 80-year-olds show up to vote like their lives depend on it, because honestly, they kind of do. Voting rates among people over 80 consistently top every other age group by massive margins. When election day rolls around, you'll find octogenarians lined up at polling stations with their folding chairs and reading glasses, ready to make their voices heard. Rain or shine, these folks vote. But why such dedication? Well, when you've lived through 8 decades of presidents, policy changes, and political promises, you develop strong opinions about what works and what doesn't. Medicare decisions directly affect their doctor visits. Social Security changes impact their monthly budgets. These aren't abstract policy debates, they're personal financial realities. Politicians know this too. Campaign managers study voting patterns like their careers depend on it. And guess what they find? Seniors vote in predictable, powerful numbers. That's why candidates spend so much time discussing healthcare costs and prescription drug prices. Smart politicians don't just court the senior vote, they court it hard. Then there's the civic duty angle, civic. Many 80-year-olds grew up when voting felt more like a sacred responsibility than a casual choice. They remember when certain groups couldn't vote at all. This historical perspective makes skipping elections feel almost disrespectful to the democratic process. Beyond just voting, many seniors become political volunteers, phone bank workers, and campaign donors. They've got time, they've got opinions, and they've got decades of experience watching how political decisions play out in real life. Some even run for local offices themselves. The funny thing is, after all those years of political involvement, many develop a sixth sense about managing their own health too. Speaking of expertise that builds over time, most 80-year-olds could probably teach medical students a thing or two. After decades of doctor visits, prescription changes, and health scares, they've become walking encyclopedias of their own bodies. They know which arm gives the most accurate blood pressure reading and exactly how their knees will feel when it rains. Take medication management, for instance. While younger people might forget to take vitamins, many octogenarians have pill organizers that look like engineering marvels. Monday through Sunday, morning through night, each compartment filled with precision. They've learned which medications work best on an empty stomach and which ones make them dizzy if they stand too fast. Home monitoring has become second nature. Blood glucose meters sit on kitchen counters like coffee makers. Blood pressure cuffs hang on bedroom doors. Some folks track their numbers in notebooks with the dedication of accountants during tax season. They've figured out that their pressure runs high at the doctor's office, but normal at home. That white coat syndrome is real. Then there's the medication switch many make in their 80s. Harsh prescription drugs sometimes get replaced with gentler alternatives. Baby aspirin instead of stronger blood thinners. Natural sleep aids instead of heavy sleeping pills. Their bodies have taught them what works and what doesn't through trial and plenty of error. The really remarkable part, many donate their medical stories to research studies. Universities and medical centers actively recruit octogenarians because their detailed health histories span decades. These folks have lived through medical breakthroughs, survived treatments that are now obsolete, and adapted to new therapies. They've become partners with their healthcare providers rather than passive patients. But all this medical wisdom doesn't just help them manage chronic conditions. Here's something most people don't expect about turning 80. Those crushing headaches that plagued you for decades might just vanish. Migraines, which can feel like someone's driving railroad spikes through your skull, often disappear naturally as you age. The numbers tell an interesting story. Only about 10% of women over 70 still deal with regular migraines, compared to the nearly 20% in their 50s. Men see similar drops. Your brain's blood vessels change as you get older, and hormone levels stabilize in ways that seem to shut down those headache triggers. But here's where it gets weird. When migraines do stick around past 80, they sometimes transform completely. Instead of pain, you might see flashing lights or zigzag patterns dancing across your vision. No headache at all, just a light show that lasts 20 minutes and disappears. Doctors call these silent migraines, and they're surprisingly common in older adults. Then there's stress-related tension headaches. Remember those skull-crushing episodes after tough days at work? Most 80-year-olds report far fewer of these too. Makes sense, right? Retirement removes many daily pressures, and perspective changes everything. That urgent deadline from your working years? Laughable now. Some relief comes purely from biological changes. Your nervous system becomes less reactive to triggers like certain foods, weather changes, or disrupted sleep patterns. What used to send you to a dark room with an ice pack might not even register anymore. The weird part is how liberating this can be. People who spent decades planning around potential headaches suddenly find themselves free. No more carrying emergency medications or avoiding social events because of migraine fears. Well, while your head might finally give you a break, your body's preparing other surprises. Your relationship with technology, for instance, is about to get interesting in ways you never expected. The smartphone revolution hit when most 80-year-olds were already in their 60s. That means they watched the world transform from landlines to pocket computers in real time. Some jumped on board immediately. Others, well, they're still figuring out why anyone needs a phone that does everything except make decent coffee. Here's what surprises people most. Many octogenarians are tech wizards now. They video chat with grandkids across the country, order groceries online, and even post photos on social media. Some discovered computers for the first time after turning 80 and became more skilled than their middle-aged children. The learning curve might be steep, but once they get it, they really get it. Then there's the flip side. Plenty of 80-year-olds want nothing to do with all these gadgets. They prefer handwritten letters, actual phone conversations, and face-to-face visits. Makes sense, right? They live most of their lives without needing a screen for everything. But even the tech-resistant crowd often finds practical uses they can't ignore. Medical reminder apps help track medications. Online banking saves trips to the bank. Digital photo sharing means seeing great-grandchildren's first steps within minutes of them happening, not weeks later when film gets developed and mailed. The funny thing is how technology bridges distances that used to feel impossible. Grandparents can read bedtime stories over video calls or attend virtual birthday parties. Some become surprisingly good at troubleshooting their own devices, while others still call their grandkids for help with the simplest tasks. Whether they embrace every new gadget or stick to basics, most 80-year-olds have found their comfort zone with technology. Some level works for almost everyone. Speaking of comfort zones, there's another area where dramatic shifts happen around this age, and it involves something everyone experiences daily. When you hit 80, your relationship with food takes some interesting turns. That morning, coffee might not pack the same punch it used to. The spicy salsa that once made you sweat could taste mild as water. Your taste buds are changing, and it's completely normal. Scientists tell us we lose about half our taste buds by age 80. The ones that stick around, they're not as sharp as they used to be. Sweet and salty flavors often become the easiest to detect, which explains why many octogenarians suddenly develop a sweet tooth that would make their dentist nervous. Then there's the appetite situation. Remember those days when you could polish off a full dinner plate and ask for seconds? Well, those portions might start looking like small mountains. Many 80-year-olds naturally shift towards smaller, more frequent meals. Your stomach isn't broken, it's just being practical. But here's where it gets weird. Some people discover flavors they never liked before become tolerable, even enjoyable. That Brussels sprouts hatred from childhood, it might mysteriously disappear. Meanwhile, foods you've loved for decades could suddenly taste off or too intense. The weird part is how this affects social eating. Family dinners might feel different when the meal everyone's raving about tastes bland to you. Some seniors get creative, adding extra herbs or trying new seasonings their younger selves would have rejected. Water becomes surprisingly important too. Your body's thirst signals aren't as reliable anymore, making dehydration a sneaky problem. Many 80-year-olds set phone reminders to drink water, treating hydration like a prescription. Food preferences aren't the only thing shifting at this age. Your entire relationship with what other people think undergoes a dramatic transformation that might surprise everyone around you. At 80, something magical happens. The voice in your head that used to whisper, "What will people think?" finally gets quieter. Way quieter. Remember being 20 and agonizing over every outfit choice? Or 40 and worrying if your coworkers judged your lunch preferences? Well, most 80-year-olds have officially graduated from that exhausting program. Research shows people over 75 score significantly lower on social anxiety measures compared to younger adults. They're not broken or giving up, they're liberated. When you've lived through 8 decades of human drama, you realize most people are too busy worrying about their own problems to judge yours anyway. This freedom shows up everywhere. Grocery shopping in pajama pants? Sure, why not? Speaking up when the restaurant gets your order wrong? Absolutely. Telling your adult children exactly what you think about their life choices? That happens too, sometimes to everyone's surprise. The fashion revolution is real. Comfort trumps trends every single time. Those painful high heels gather dust, while supportive sneakers become the go-to choice. Elastic waistbands aren't embarrassing anymore. They're genius engineering. Colors get bolder too. Purple hair, bright pink scarves, whatever makes them smile. But here's the fascinating part. This boldness isn't rudeness. Most 80-year-olds have also mastered the art of speaking truth with kindness. They've learned the difference between honesty and cruelty. Makes sense, right? Decades of practice tend to refine your delivery. Self-acceptance blooms late in life for many people. Past mistakes that once caused sleepless nights now feel like distant learning experiences. The perfectionism that plagued earlier decades often melts away, replaced by something much more peaceful. This newfound confidence creates space for deeper relationships. When you stop performing for others, authentic connections become possible. Speaking of connections, the family relationships that matter most start shifting in remarkable ways during these years. Being a grandparent at 80 hits different than it did at 60. The energy might be lower, but the appreciation runs deeper. Many octogenarians find themselves stepping into great-grandparent territory for the first time, watching tiny humans who represent their family's fourth generation. The babysitting game changes too. Gone are the days of chasing toddlers around playgrounds for hours. Instead, 80-year-old grandparents master the art of sitting still while kids climb on them like human jungle gyms. Storytime becomes the main event, not the backup plan. Here's where it gets interesting, though. These grandparents lived through history that feels like ancient tales to their grandkids. They can describe life before smartphones, before the internet, even before color television became standard. To a 7-year-old, hearing about party phone lines or getting up to change TV channels sounds like science fiction. Family recipes get passed down with more urgency now. That secret ingredient in Grandma's cookies, she's not keeping it secret much longer. Recipe cards get written out in careful handwriting, sometimes with little notes like, "Don't overbake like I did in 1987. Technology creates some funny moments too. Video calls with distant grandkids can turn into accidental comedy shows when 80-year-olds hold phones too close to their faces or forget they're on mute. But these same grandparents surprise everyone by becoming Facebook pros, commenting on every single family photo with heart emojis. The advice dispensing reaches peak levels. Every conversation somehow circles back to life lessons learned over 8 decades. When I was your age, stories multiply, but they carry more weight because the gap between then and now spans entire technological revolutions. Weekly visits become sacred. Both sides know these moments matter more than they used to, but while relationships with grandchildren deepen beautifully, there's another side to aging that's harder to discuss. Your brain at 80 plays fascinating tricks with memory. Yesterday's grocery list? Gone without a trace. But ask about your first day of school 75 years ago, and suddenly you're describing every detail. The teacher's blue dress, the smell of chalk dust, even what your mother packed for lunch. This memory quirk isn't random. Your brain prioritizes emotional moments and experiences from your teens and 20s. Scientists call this the reminiscence bump. Those decades shaped who you became, so your mind treats them like precious files worth keeping forever. Meanwhile, where you put your reading glasses 10 minutes ago, that's apparently disposable information. Old songs trigger the most surprising recalls. Hearing Moon River might transport you back to your wedding dance, complete with the feeling of your spouse's hand in yours and the sound of your father's laughter. The melody unlocks a time capsule your conscious mind forgot existed. Then, there's the storytelling evolution. Family members notice how the same story gets embellished or changes slightly with each telling. Your fishing trip tale grows more dramatic, the storm gets fiercer, and somehow that boss gets bigger every time. You're not lying, you're creating a better version of the truth. Photo albums become essential tools. They fill in the blanks your memory leaves behind. Looking through old pictures often sparks conversations that start with, "Oh, I forgot about that." Suddenly you're remembering entire vacation weeks or family gatherings that had completely disappeared from your mental files. Some 80-year-olds keep detailed diaries to combat the haziness. Others embrace the selective nature of aging memory, focusing on the beautiful moments while letting mundane details fade away. Your mind becomes an editor, keeping the good stuff and discarding the rest. But here's what's really interesting about getting older. All that life experience starts crystallizing into something valuable. When you've lived through 8 decades, younger people start asking for your advice. A lot. The grocery store clerk wants to know about relationships. Your neighbor's kid asks about career choices. Even strangers at the bus stop somehow end up sharing their problems with you. Most 80-year-olds have discovered a few universal truths worth passing along. Don't sweat the small stuff tops nearly every list. That argument with your coworker, the traffic jam that made you late, the burnt dinner. None of it matters much when you've watched decades roll by. Makes sense, right? Patience becomes their superpower. While younger folks rush through everything, octogenarians have learned that most problems solve themselves if you just wait. They've seen economic crashes bounce back, family feuds heal over time, and impossible situations work out somehow. Then, there's the kindness factor. Many 80-year-olds preach this like gospel. They've witnessed how a simple smile or helping hand creates ripple effects lasting years. The weird part is they often wish they'd figured this out earlier in life. Laughing at mistakes gets easier too. Spilled coffee, forgotten names, wrong turns. At 80, these become funny stories instead of embarrassing moments. They've made enough mistakes to fill several lifetimes. So what's one more? But here's what surprises younger generations. Most octogenarians rarely give specific advice. Instead of saying, do this or don't do that, they share stories and let you figure it out. They've learned that wisdom can't be force-fed like vegetables to a stubborn child. The most common piece of wisdom they share: this too shall pass. Whether you're celebrating or struggling, nothing stays the same forever. They've lived through enough ups and downs to know this personally. Speaking of change, these seasoned survivors have mastered something most younger people struggle with daily. Being 80 means you've watched the world flip upside down multiple times. And here's the thing. Most octogenarians have gotten surprisingly good at rolling with it. Think about what they've witnessed firsthand. They remember when phones had rotary dials and stayed attached to walls. Now their great-grandkids video chat with friends in different countries using devices that fit in their pockets. The speed of change would make anyone dizzy, but many 80-year-olds just shrug and say, well, that's interesting. Some embrace every new gadget and trend with the enthusiasm of teenagers. Others pick and choose what works for them, ignoring the rest without apology. Both approaches work fine. The really fascinating part? Many report that adapting gets easier with age, not harder. After surviving 8 decades of surprises, wars, economic crashes, social revolutions, technological leaps, they've developed what researchers call adaptive expertise. Basically, they've learned that everything changes eventually. Their grandchildren might panic about shifting job markets or new social media platforms. Meanwhile, Grandpa remembers when computers filled entire rooms and nobody owned cars. He's seen bigger changes and lived to tell about it. This doesn't mean change is always comfortable. Losing familiar stores, watching neighborhoods transform, or learning that words they've used their whole lives are now considered outdated can sting. But most develop a philosophical attitude. Complain if you want, then figure out how to move forward. Then there's the advantage of perspective. When you've seen multiple generations grow up, you recognize patterns. Fashion cycles back. Political pendulums swing both directions. Technologies that seemed revolutionary become obsolete. Many 80-year-olds become lifelong learners by necessity and choice. They take computer classes, ask teenagers for help with apps, and surprise everyone by staying curious. But celebrating major milestones brings its own special kind of joy that younger people rarely understand. When you hit 80, birthdays aren't just another year older, they're victory celebrations. Think about it. You've survived 8 decades of everything the world could throw at you. Wars, recessions, disco music, and bell-bottom pants. That deserves a party. These milestone celebrations often become massive family reunions. Great-grandchildren fly in from across the country, photo albums come out, and suddenly everyone's laughing at pictures from 1965. The birthday person sits in the middle of it all, watching 3 generations argue about who looks like whom. But here's what's funny about 80-year-old birthday parties. The gifts completely flip. Instead of getting tools or jewelry, people give photo books filled with memories. Handwritten letters become treasures. Video messages from old army buddies or college roommates make everyone cry happy tears. Then there's the birthday cards. Oh boy, the cards. They arrive by the dozens, each one packed with fun facts about what happened the year you were born. Did you know that in 1943, a loaf of bread cost 8 cents? Thanks, Hallmark. Really puts things in perspective. Many 80-year-olds plan epic birthday trips instead of traditional parties. Alaska cruises, European tours, or visits to grandkids in different states become the new normal. Some even check items off bucket lists they wrote decades ago. Skydiving at 80? Why not? You've made it this far. The toasts at these celebrations are something special too. You made it this far becomes the standard cheer, but it carries real weight. Everyone in the room knows the odds. They know the friends who didn't make it to 80. Small milestones matter just as much. Completing a crossword puzzle, walking to the mailbox without help, or remembering a great-grandchild's name sparks mini celebrations throughout the year. Well, speaking of things that change after 80, there's something nobody really prepares you for. By your 80s, saying goodbye becomes part of the rhythm of life. Friends you've known for decades start disappearing from your world. The wedding party from 60 years ago gets smaller each year. Your high school reunion group dwindles to a handful of familiar faces. The phone calls arrive with increasing frequency. Did you hear about Margaret? Your spouse might pass away. Your siblings. Sometimes even your own children precede you in death, which feels completely backwards from how life should work. But here's what might surprise you about grief at 80. You get better at handling it. Not because it hurts less, but because you've developed emotional muscles you didn't have at 40. You've learned that sadness and gratitude can live side by side in your heart without canceling each other out. Many octogenarians become experts at memorial services. They know which funeral homes serve the best coffee afterward. They understand that sharing funny stories about the deceased helps more than lengthy speeches about loss. Some even plan their own services, picking out hymns and deciding who gets to speak. The weird part is how this constant awareness of mortality actually makes life sweeter. That Tuesday afternoon phone call with your remaining childhood friend becomes precious. You stop putting off conversations that matter. Arguments about politics or money seem pointless when you know time is limited. Making new friends at 80 takes courage, but it happens. Senior centers become social hubs. Support groups form naturally. Some discover that people going through similar losses understand them better than anyone else ever has. Your memory becomes a treasure chest of people others have forgotten. You're often the only one left who remembers Uncle Joe's terrible jokes or how Aunt Helen always burned the Christmas cookies. While navigating these losses shapes your daily reality, something else emerges that keeps your spirit alive, the discovery of activities you never had time for before. Who knew retirement could spark a creative revolution? While most people picture 80-year-olds knitting in rocking chairs, many are actually starting fresh adventures that would make college students jealous. Gardening becomes the gateway drug. What starts as watering a few plants often explodes into full botanical masterpieces. Some create vegetable gardens that feed half the neighborhood. Others develop flower displays that make professional landscapers take notes. The best part? No rushing to meetings means you can actually watch tomatoes ripen. Then there's the art explosion. Paint by numbers gets tossed aside for real canvases. Community centers report waiting lists for senior art classes, watercolors, oils, pottery wheels. Suddenly, everyone's channeling their inner Picasso. One study found that people over 80 produce some surprisingly sophisticated artwork when they finally have time to focus. Writing memoirs has become practically mandatory. But here's the twist. Many don't stop there. They write novels, poetry, even comedy sketches. Libraries host reading groups where 80-year-olds share stories that would make Netflix writers envious. Birdwatching turns into serious business. Binoculars get upgraded. Field guides become thoroughly dog-eared. Some travel across states just to spot rare species. Photography often tags along, creating stunning nature albums that younger relatives actually want to see. Group classes solve two problems at once: learning new skills while making friends. Perfect combination. Dance classes, cooking workshops, computer training, language learning, the options multiply faster than you'd expect. Community colleges love their senior students because they actually show up and pay attention. But what really surprises families is the sheer enthusiasm. Energy that once went into careers now pours into passions. Days fill up quickly when you're pursuing interests instead of obligations. While these hobbies keep minds sharp and spirits high, they also reveal something deeper about staying connected to the world around you. Money talks differently when you're 80. Most people this age live on what economists call a fixed income. Basically, the money coming in each month stays the same, while everything else gets more expensive. Social security checks, pension payments, and retirement account withdrawals become the main financial lifelines. Here's where things get tricky. That nest egg you spent decades building, it needs to last for potentially another 10 to 15 years or more. Many 80-year-olds become budgeting experts out of necessity, tracking every grocery bill and utility payment like financial detectives. Monthly planning sessions at the kitchen table become as routine as taking vitamins. But there's an unexpected twist in this story. While some worry about every penny, others discover the joy of strategic generosity. Grandparents start writing bigger birthday checks or donating to causes they care about. Why? Because they realize you can't take it with you, and watching money make others happy beats watching it sit in accounts. The darker side, scammers target seniors relentlessly. phone calls about fake Medicare issues, emails promising miracle investments, and door-to-door schemes specifically hunt for older adults. These criminals know that 80-year-olds often have savings and sometimes feel isolated or confused by modern technology. Financial fraud against seniors costs billions annually. Then there's the medication math. Prescription costs can eat huge chunks of monthly budgets, even with insurance. Many become experts at finding generic alternatives or pharmacy discount programs. Some split pills or skip doses to make bottles last longer. A dangerous but common reality. Credit cards often get cut up or hidden away. Cash becomes king again, just like it was decades ago. Banking gets simplified to basic checking accounts and maybe one savings account. Investment portfolios get more conservative, focusing on stability over growth. Speaking of money matters, wait until you hear about all the special discounts and perks that come with reaching 80. Getting older might cost more in some ways, but it definitely pays off when it comes to discounts. Senior perks are everywhere once you hit 80, and smart octogenarians know exactly how to use them. Movie tickets drop by several dollars at most theaters. Restaurants offer early bird specials that aren't just about eating at 4 p.m. anymore. Many stores have dedicated senior shopping days with extra markdowns. The savings add up fast when you're living on a fixed income. But here's where it gets interesting. Some places roll out the red carpet in ways that go beyond money. Priority seating at events means no more standing in long lines. Banks often have special teller windows just for seniors. Even airports provide wheelchair assistance and early boarding without extra fees. Then there's the birthday surprise factor. Companies love celebrating milestone birthdays for their longtime customers. Free meals, discount cards valid for entire months, and even surprise gift packages show up in the mail. One 82-year-old woman got a free oil change every year from her local shop just because she'd been a customer for 3 decades. Transportation perks vary wildly by location. Some cities offer completely free bus rides. Others provide half-price train tickets or special senior taxi services. The catch? You have to ask. Many places don't advertise these deals loudly. Well, the downside exists too. Scammers specifically target seniors with fake discount offers over the phone. Learning to spot these tricks becomes essential survival knowledge. Real discounts don't require your social security number or bank account information up front. Smart seniors keep a list of their favorite discounts in their wallet. They ask about senior rates everywhere, from hotels to hair salons. The worst someone can say is no, but you'd be surprised how often they say yes. These perks make daily life more affordable, but staying healthy enough to enjoy them requires more than just showing an ID card. Getting older means spending more time in waiting rooms than most teenagers spend on social media. Medical checkups become as routine as morning coffee for most 80-year-olds. The days of skipping annual physicals, those are long gone. Yearly vaccinations transform from optional to absolutely essential. Flu shots, pneumonia vaccines, and COVID boosters become regular calendar events. Many octogenarians know their vaccination schedule better than their grandchildren know their class schedules. The immune system needs all the help it can get at this stage of life. Eye exams happen more frequently too. What used to be every 2 years might become every 6 months. Cataracts, glaucoma, and macular degeneration aren't just medical terms anymore. They're real possibilities that require monitoring. Hearing tests join the regular rotation as well. That ringing in the ears or difficulty following conversations at family dinners? Better to catch these changes early. Then there's the bone density scan. This test measures how strong your skeleton remains after decades of use. Osteoporosis becomes a genuine concern, especially for women. Breaking a hip at 80 carries far different consequences than breaking one at 30. Early detection becomes the name of the game. Regular blood work can spot diabetes, heart problems, or kidney issues before they become serious. Many 80-year-olds develop detailed relationships with their lab technicians. They see them that often. The weird part is how medical records multiply. What started as a thin folder in your 20s might now require multiple thick binders. Some people joke they need a filing cabinet just for their health information. Prescriptions, test results, specialist referrals, and appointment summaries pile up like autumn leaves. But here's the thing about all these medical checkups. They're not just about finding problems. They're about maintaining independence and quality of life for as long as possible. Speaking of maintaining strength and mobility, physical therapy often becomes another crucial piece of the health puzzle. Walking into a physical therapy clinic at 80 might feel intimidating at first, but here's what most people discover. It's actually one of the smartest moves they'll make. Physical therapists aren't trying to turn octogenarians into Olympic athletes. They're focused on something much more practical, keeping you steady on your feet and strong enough to live independently. Balance exercises become the star of the show. Simple movements like standing on one foot or walking heel to toe can prevent dangerous falls. The weird part is how effective these seemingly basic exercises really are. Studies show that older adults who do balance training reduce their fall risk by nearly 25%. That's huge when you consider falls send millions of seniors to the hospital each year. Strength training looks different at 80 too. Forget heavy weights and fancy machines. Resistance bands, light dumbbells, and even body weight exercises work wonders. Many therapists focus on everyday movements, getting up from chairs, climbing stairs, reaching for items on shelves. These functional exercises translate directly into real-world confidence. Then there's the flexibility component that many overlook. Tight muscles and stiff joints make everything harder. Gentle stretching routines help maintain range of motion, making it easier to dress, cook, and move around comfortably. Some people are amazed by how much better they feel after just a few weeks of consistent stretching. Home visits are becoming incredibly popular for physical therapy. Therapists evaluate living spaces and suggest modifications. Grab bars, better lighting, removing tripping hazards. They teach exercises using household items like soup cans or towels. This personalized approach makes therapy more accessible and practical. The social aspect shouldn't be underestimated either. Group therapy sessions create friendships and accountability partners. People encourage each other and share tips for staying active. But physical changes aren't the only surprise waiting after 80. At 80, your skin becomes a living scrapbook. Those brown spots that suddenly appear on your hands and arms, they're called liver spots, though they have nothing to do with your liver. Doctors call them age spots or solar lentigines. Fancy name for decades of sun exposure catching up with you. Wrinkles tell their own stories too. Laugh lines around your eyes prove you've smiled plenty. Forehead creases show you've spent time thinking, worrying, or raising your eyebrows in surprise. The vertical lines between your eyebrows, well, those suggest you've concentrated hard on life's puzzles. Many 80-year-olds discover their skincare routine gets simpler, not more complicated. Gone are the days of 10-step regimens. A gentle cleanser and good moisturizer often become the entire arsenal. Why? Skin gets thinner and more delicate. It bruises easier and takes longer to heal from small cuts. Then there's the hydration factor. Your skin loses moisture faster at 80 than it did at 40. Drinking water becomes crucial, but so does slathering on lotion. Some discover they need to moisturize twice daily just to stay comfortable. But here's what surprises many people. UV protection remains important. Even at 80, sun damage continues accumulating. A hat and sunscreen still matter for outdoor activities. The weird part is how some skin changes happen overnight while others creep up slowly. You might wake up with a new age spot that wasn't there yesterday, or gradually notice your skin feeling paper thin compared to last year. Some embrace these changes as badges of honor. Others invest in good lighting and magnifying mirrors for grooming. Either way, your skin at 80 carries decades of stories written in freckles, scars, and smile lines. Speaking of changes that sneak up on you, your appetite for adventure might shock everyone around you. Who says adventure has an expiration date? Tell that to the 82-year-old who just signed up for her first skydiving lesson, or the grandfather learning Mandarin on his tablet every morning. The idea that turning 80 means settling into a rocking chair is about as outdated as a rotary phone. Travel agencies report a growing trend of octogenarian adventurers booking trips they never had time for during their working years. Safari tours in Kenya, Northern Lights expeditions in Iceland, food tours through Vietnam. These aren't your typical senior bus tours with scheduled bathroom breaks every hour. We're talking real adventures. Then there's volunteering abroad. Peace Corps has volunteers in their 80s teaching English in remote villages or helping build schools. Makes sense, right? Decades of life experience suddenly become valuable resources for communities worldwide. One 84-year-old volunteer in Guatemala said she'd never felt more useful in her entire life. Learning new skills doesn't slow down either. Music schools see 80-year-olds picking up violin for the first time. Language apps report users well into their 80s mastering conversational Spanish or French. The weird part is they often have more patience than younger students. No rushing to finish, no pressure to be perfect immediately. Food adventures top many lists too. Cooking classes featuring cuisines from Thailand, Morocco, or Peru draw surprising numbers of older students. One cooking instructor mentioned her 81-year-old student who mastered sushi rolling better than participants half her age. Let's not forget the physical challenges some embrace. Rock climbing gyms, beginner surfing lessons, even motorcycle riding courses see their share of adventurous 80-year-olds. Their families might worry, but the participants often glow with excitement about trying something completely new. Curiosity doesn't retire when you hit 80. If anything, having fewer obligations frees up time for adventures that seemed impossible during busy career years. But while adventure calls to many, the body might have other plans when it comes to daily realities. Your eyes start playing tricks on you around 80. That restaurant menu becomes impossible to read without holding it at arm's length. Or maybe you've already given up and just ask your server what's good. Reading glasses become as essential as your house keys, and many people own at least 3 pairs scattered around different rooms. Cataracts affect more than half of all Americans over 80. The good news, cataract surgery is one of the most successful procedures in medicine today. Most people walk out seeing better than they have in years. One 82-year-old described it as, "Someone turned the lights back on in my house." Then, there are your ears. What did you say? Exactly. About 2/3 of people over 70 have some hearing loss. Phone conversations get louder. TV volumes creep up until neighbors start complaining. Family members learn to speak more clearly, not just louder. But here's the surprising part. Many 80-year-olds develop superhuman lip reading skills without even trying. Your brain adapts faster than you'd expect. Some seniors become so good at reading facial expressions and body language that they catch conversations across crowded rooms. Hearing aids aren't the bulky whistling devices they used to be. Modern ones are nearly invisible and connect to smartphones. Some even translate foreign languages in real time. Technology finally caught up with what seniors actually needed. Regular eye and ear checkups become more crucial after 80. Many problems that seem like normal aging are actually fixable. That persistent ringing in your ears might be treatable. Those floaters in your vision could signal something important. The weird part is how quickly you adapt to these changes. Most people worry more about losing their senses before it happens than after. Your brain finds workarounds you never knew existed. While your eyes and ears might need some help, your ability to truly see and understand the world often grows sharper. Speaking of sharpness, there's something interesting about how your entire perspective on life's challenges shifts at this age. When you've made it through 8 decades, something remarkable happens to your brain. Problems that used to feel like mountains start looking more like speed bumps. That argument with your neighbor, not worth losing sleep over. The stock market taking a dive? Well, you've survived worse crashes before. Most 80-year-olds develop what researchers call emotional regulation mastery. Basically, your brain gets better at filtering out the nonsense. You stop sweating the small stuff because you've learned what actually deserves your energy. Makes sense, right? Here's the weird part. Many octogenarians report feeling less anxious than they did in their 30s or 40s. All those years of facing challenges have built up a mental armor. You've weathered job losses, family drama, health scares, and global crises. Each experience adds another layer of been there, done that wisdom. Let's not forget the freedom that comes with perspective. At 80, you're less likely to catastrophize over minor setbacks. Your car breaks down. Annoying, but not the end of the world. Your favorite restaurant closes. Time to try something new. This isn't resignation. It's clarity. Then there's the beautiful shift in priorities. Many seniors stop worrying about impressing others and start focusing on what genuinely matters. Family dinners become more precious than business meetings ever were. A good book feels more valuable than the latest trending topic on social media. Research shows that people over 80 score higher on emotional stability tests than younger adults. They're better at bouncing back from disappointments and finding silver linings in tough situations. It's like having decades of practice at the art of resilience. But while the mind grows stronger in handling life's curveballs, something deeper often begins stirring. a pull toward bigger questions about meaning and purpose that goes beyond daily concerns. Something interesting happens around 80. People start asking bigger questions, and not about what's for dinner or whether it'll rain tomorrow, but about meaning, purpose, and what comes next. Faith often deepens during these years. Churches, synagogues, and mosques see familiar faces more regularly. But it's not just about religion. Even people who never considered themselves spiritual find themselves drawn to quiet reflection. Prayer books appear on nightstands. Meditation apps get downloaded for the first time. The weird part is how naturally this shift happens. One day, you're worried about work deadlines. The next, you're pondering life's mysteries while watching sunrise from your kitchen window. Time moves differently when you realize how precious it is. Many 80-year-olds become philosophical without trying. They start conversations with deep thoughts that surprise their families. "I've been thinking about what really matters" becomes a common opening line. Grandchildren learn to expect profound observations during casual visits. Then there's the legacy question. What mark did I leave? What wisdom can I pass down? Photo albums get organized with new urgency. Family stories get written down. Values that seemed obvious suddenly need explaining to younger generations who live in completely different worlds. Books take on new meaning too. Religious texts, philosophy, poetry, genres that gathered dust for decades suddenly feel essential. Libraries report that their oldest patrons check out the most thought-provoking material. Prayer or meditation time increases naturally. Whether it's formal worship or just quiet moments of gratitude, spiritual practices become daily habits rather than weekly obligations. Some discover they've been spiritual all along without realizing it. Music hits differently as well. Hymns, classical pieces, or songs from youth carry emotional weight that surprises everyone. Makes sense, right? When you've lived 8 decades, everything connects to something deeper. But spirituality at 80 isn't all serious reflection. Sometimes it's just appreciating small miracles, like waking up pain-free or receiving an unexpected phone call. Speaking of daily experiences, the way 80-year-olds approach each morning reveals something remarkable about perspective. Most people spend years worrying about tomorrow. At 80, tomorrow becomes something to celebrate, not stress about. Wake up feeling good? That's a win. Coffee tastes perfect? Another victory. Your great-grandson calls just to chat? Pure gold. The shift is remarkable. While younger folks obsess over 5-year plans and retirement savings, 80-year-olds often live with an intensity that would surprise you. They book trips to places they've never seen. They sign up for art classes on Tuesday and volunteer at the animal shelter on Wednesday. Why? Because waiting feels silly when you've already waited 8 decades. But here's the twist. This isn't about rushing through life. It's about savoring it differently. Mary from Wisconsin started learning piano at 82 because she finally had time to play badly without embarrassing anyone at work. Her fingers might not fly across the keys like a concert pianist, but her smile during practice sessions could light up the room. The gratitude hits different too. Younger people say thank you out of politeness. At 80, gratitude becomes almost physical. The warmth of sunshine on your face isn't just nice weather. It's a reminder that you're still here to feel it. That grocery store clerk who helps carry your bags, they just made your whole afternoon brighter. Then, there's the freedom from caring what strangers think. Wear purple shoes with a green hat? Who's going to stop you? Dance to music playing in the grocery store? Your hips might creak, but your spirit doesn't care about the audience. Planning doesn't stop either. Book clubs schedule meetings months ahead. Garden catalogs get marked up for next spring's flowers. Birthday parties get planned with the enthusiasm of teenagers. Makes sense, right? When you realize how precious ordinary moments are, every single day becomes worth celebrating. Though this mindset shift doesn't happen overnight for everyone. Some discoveries about life at 80 might catch you completely off guard.